Hello there, everybody. My name is Lewis Wieland, and for the last 30 years, I've published the official relocation guides on Atlanta that are distributed by the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. We have several publications, one for the metro area, one for North Fulton, one for Cobb County, and one for Gwinnett. And they are in the all the realtor offices and in the First Multiple Listing Service stores, available free of charge. Realtors give them out to people moving here for business and residential use as well, for homes and trying to figure out where to live and locate their business. They're on my website. They're also on the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta website for the access of realtors. You have to be a realtor to gain access to that site, but the magazines are on there. They're also on my website, atlantacommunityprofiles.com, along with a great deal of other information about Atlanta. And this show will be on there as well. It's probably starting tomorrow, but I'm also a commercial realtor with KW Commercial, and my area of interest is multifamily. I can help you find office space to buy or lease, and also land. So it's Lou at LouWieland.com is my email, or Lou at LouWieland@KW.com. So every now and then we interview community leaders, community and business leaders, and I ran into Richard McLeod, our guest today, at a Commercial Board of Realtors meeting where he was presenting information about his great city of Dunwoody, which I know and lived there for many years myself, so I know the city extremely well. So I invited Richard to come on the show and talk a little bit about Dunwoody. He grew up in Atlanta. I guess you're a native, is that right? Are you a genuine native, Richard, or what?
I'm not native, but I grew up in Roswell.
Oh, you grew up in Roswell? Oh,
yep.
Okay, good. Well, then he's been working in planning and community development for the last 18 years, and he started at Woodstock, which was an extremely successful development over there in downtown Woodstock. It's beautiful, where he shared the ARC Development of Excellence Award for the revitalization of downtown Woodstock. And he also did redevelopment work at Alpharetta, where he led the implementation of the Avalon, which is phenomenally successful. And now he's at Dunwoody, and he's working on developing the Atlanta perimeter area and the revitalization of the Dunwoody restaurant and commercial shopping districts. The lot going on in Dunwoody, and it's really changed. I lived there quite a while ago. I don't want to tell you how long it's been so you realize how old person I am. But welcome to the show, Richard. Great to have you on the show and help us understand about the great city of Dunwoody.
Thank you, Lou.
Why don't you just give a quick overview of the city in your words, and it's also profiled in my magazine, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. But in your words, how would you profile it?
Well, it's a great city. We have about 51,000 population, but during the daytime we probably exceed that, probably 150,000, because it's a major employment center in the southeast. It's relatively built out, so all our development goes through a redevelopment phase. Just trying to pack more people in and get as much opportunities as we can.
It's pretty expensive to live there. The average family income is over $100,000 a year.
Yes, yeah, it is quite expensive to live here. Our policemen have city contributes $800 a month if they live in the city. So
Okay, so yeah, it helps with the mortgage.
Yeah,
The most people, it's 13.7 square miles, which is and totally there's no vacant land. There's no land to be developed in the city right now.
that's correct.
But
Yeah.
it's not just residential. A lot of people don't realize it that Perimeter Mall is part of Dunwoody.
Yes, it is. We've gotten several projects. High Street is one of them. Campus 244 is another one. Um, and we got the Little Living Spaces furniture store going in on Ravinia Drive. And we've got 84 Perimeter Center East, which is a 14-story senior apartment building. So those are all getting ready to kick off.
Wow. And I know we could talk about those if you would like to. The High Street, which is sounds extremely exciting. Tell us a little bit about that. What's that involved?
So it's about 35 plus acres. It was zoned approximately 20 years ago in DeKalb County, but the zoning goes with the land. And so even though we incorporated since then, they've got 3,000 residential units on that 30-acre site. They're in phase one now. They're doing about 600 apartments over the retail and office. It takes up about a third of the site, but we're getting ready to start the phase two. We've already got meetings scheduled, but there can build anywhere from 1 story to 30 stories. It's right across the street from State Farm. It's very close to MARTA, so we don't feel like it's going to be a huge traffic generator. There will be some traffic, but it's very well connected with their grid streets. Plus, all the people that work on MARTA can come there anytime. So, and there is tons of free parking.
MARTA is within walking distance, right?
It's right across the street. Yep.
So, yeah, pretty nice.
Yep.
Very nice, as a matter of fact. I imagine that'll be a big attraction. The fact that you should come over there and from town or whatever.
Yeah, and eventually they're going to have 2 hotels, one on the north side, one on the south side, eventually. So we're looking forward to that, and they're probably going to do a significant new office space on there.
What you mentioned something about on Campus 244, and what is that?
That's on 285, the old Gold Kiss building. What they're doing is they kept the white building, which was 3 stories, but it's got a huge floor print. So they wanted to keep that, and they're adding 2 stories on the top floor, a timber frame structure. So it has huge logs that are the basis for the building. And they're also doing another hotel, the Element Hotel. So, and there's going to be all sorts of restaurants and a mixed use kind of component of that. And that's being designed by Roca Point, who did the development up in Forsyth County.
Okay, and what's going on over there at Ravinia Drive, 84 Perimeter East? What is that?
So it's the last vacant parcel. It's one right on 285 at Ashford Dunwoody. It's 110,000 square foot commercial space with a California store, furniture store. So it'll be their first one in the state. So that they're getting close to breaking ground.
Okay, so on Ashford Dunwoody, Peach Street Dunwoody, where is does Dunwoody include Ashford, Peach Street Dunwoody or not?
So at Peachtree Dunwoody is in Sandy Springs. It's just right across the border. But we have Ashford Dunwoody
Okay.
and Chamblee Dunwoody.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So your border there, on your western border, is Ashford Dunwoody, right?
It's a little bit. It's halfway between Ashford Dunwoody and Peachtree Dunwoody.
Okay. What about the east border? Where does that go to? Chamblee Dunwoody or beyond? That goes past Chamblee
Uh,
Dunwoody.
it goes actually all the way to Peachtree Industrial
Peachtree
Boulevard.
Industrial. Okay.
Yeah. So,
So good. What there's a lot of questions I'd like to ask you. We showed a picture for the benefit of our viewers of some of the pages in your comprehensive plan. Is there anything in there that particularly would warrant note to mentioning to our viewers? That like
um,
kind of macro kind of standpoint.
one of the things we're trying to do here in Dunwoody is the village, which is the area at Chamblee Dunwoody in Mount Vernon. It's an older commercial strip joint. It's very successful, but we're trying to take it into the next generation because a lot of the people who responded to a survey we did said that they don't go there very much because they want to go to the new restaurants in Chamblee and Roswell and whatnot. So they wish that would turn over. So we're trying to work with the property owners there and get some interest in there.
Do you have a vision for that? I happen to know that Dunwoody Village very well. I used to spend my kids, as I mentioned before the show started, we grew up in Dunwoody and graduated from Dunwoody High School and Vanderlyn Elementary. And
Yeah.
Dunwoody Village was state of the art back then. What is your vision for Dunwoody Village? Do you have like a overall kind of macro concept or what?
So similar to what we did in the city of Woodstock. They had similar zoning out there, but we had a developer who came in and really shook the rafters and made us realize that there was a taste for an urban lifestyle, even out 30 miles outside of Atlanta. I still live in Woodstock and I spend all my time out there. It's just fun hanging out downtown, going to the restaurants and shops. One of the things that we did out there is we bring the buildings close to the street. So it's like a main street. So it takes away those huge parking lots. They still have parking, but it's just hidden better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There are a lot of parking spaces at Dunwoody Village right now.
there are.
Last time I rode there,
Yep.
what are you doing with that? Is that going to be multifamily or retail, or what do you think?
So in terms of the parking, we said that literally when there's that much demand, you have to stack the cars. So parking decks are allowed over there. I think we zoned it for 4 decks. They're not changing yet because they're so expensive. The city may need to acquire the land and build the deck so they could all build the portion of the site out. So,
Mm-hmm. What is the city's paradigm on multifamily? Do you have like a
they're fairly against multifamily. In the 12 years since we've incorporated, they've done one senior project, which is 84 Perimeter Center East. It has not started yet. It's getting ready to start. We've got about 50% multifamily and 50% housing. It's just it's the way of the council. So that's what they want. So
I
And they
didn't
would be,
realize it was that high. It's 50% of the residents are multifamily?
yep,
Oh, wow, that's surprisingly higher than I thought.
yep, yeah. What they did is when they were in DeKalb County, a lot of the O&I, which is office and industrial land, the commissioner allowed apartments to be constructed there without rezoning if they kept them at 5 stories. So that's why there's a lot of apartments around perimeter. Uh,
Hmm.
so,
How would you, one of the resistances, well, I mean, I hate to say this, but one of the resistances to the multifamily is that it kind of brings down the average income, right? Doesn't it, I think? I mean, the person who lives in an apartment not likely to have as higher income as a person who lives in a single-family detached residential. I mean, so
you know,
anyway, is that what does that mean to you? How would you comment
you
on that?
know, from the last two places I worked in Woodstock and Alpharetta, when we built Avalon, they had apartments on there that went for $5,000 a month.
Hmm.
So I don't think those people are hurting at all.
No.
Uh, and most of those places are extremely expensive. Um,
So yeah,
you know,
that is the truth. It was, I guess I'm showing my age, but that is, I have noticed that. In fact, the price of apartments is just outrageous, actually.
yeah, even in Woodstock, which is 30 miles outside of Atlanta, we don't have that much disparity in the housing cost for multifamily. So
Hmm.
it's $2,500 for a 2-bedroom apartment out there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that you could buy a house for almost $500,000 for that
yeah,
amount, a
and
mortgage.
I
Yeah.
think that's the problem is so many of the young people haven't worked enough, and so they haven't built up enough for down payment and whatnot. So,
Hmm. Do you think that's the reluctance to buy into to commitment to a house, or is it just a lifestyle change, or what? What do you
I think
see
it's a
that?
lifestyle change. I think from the housing burst in 2008 and 2009, I think the younger generation does not want to commit,
Hmm.
at least until they get older.
Hmm. And also the mobility factor, right? They probably want
Uh,
to be able to pick up and
yeah,
leave and move to San Diego or someplace if they get
yeah.
a better job, right?
Well, and even in Atlanta, I mean, so many of the young people are flocking to Atlanta. So,
Yeah, they don't like the yard work. I mean, the old days of having an
uh,
acre and 4,000 square foot house on an acre of land and spending your weekends mowing the lawn and trimming the shrubs is not that appealing to some of the
well,
younger people.
I pay somebody to do it for me now.
Yeah. If you're paying 5,000 a month, though, you might want to cut your own lawn for a
Yes.
mortgage. But what do you think the population? Do you have a forecast for the population growth in Dunwoody?
So it's not going to rise that significantly just because there's not that much land to develop. Um, our single family, which is probably 80% of our city, it's probably not going to change. When people buy those old houses, they typically tear them down and they come up with a brand new house, but it's really a one-for-one swap in population. Um, I could see some in if we did condos or the multifamily in perimeter, um, that could be somewhat increased, but it's not going to be dramatic.
So the prices have gone up a lot for single family, attached and detached. I imagine it's probably median. The average is probably around 700,000. I bet in Dunwoody right now. I can look it up. I didn't look it up before the show, but I bet that's what it comes to.
Yeah, the last subdivision was the Dunwoody Green, which is the John Wieland subdivision, and it just shattered all records.
What's
I mean,
that? What do they sell for, $1 million?
oh yeah,
No, over
yeah.
$1 million, yeah.
But in small lots and they're big houses. So
Well, there's a lot of people out there right now who think, and a lot of forecasters are saying we're heading into a recession next week, which is New Year.
I've been hearing that for weeks now.
Yeah, I know. It's really, and it's creeping up on us. It's, when I say next week, that's next year. But what do you think about that? How's that going to do? Is that affecting any of your development plans and growth and so forth? And
It is. We're finding that the developers are backing off on starting their projects because right now the interest rates are getting higher. The Fed's just raised another 0.5 point last week. So they're just concerned because we're potentially heading towards a scenario where we could have negative consequences.
what do you have a forecast on it? Any kind of numerical, quantitative perspective on that, or what do you say a pullback? Is that a slight pullback, or what?
So, High Street, which is under construction, they're going to continue because I think they got all of their financing done before the impending crash. But some of those may be ready to start, but they're probably not going to yet, just because they're worried about the economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the one thing though is that we do have a shortage of housing in Atlanta, and that people need a place to live, and they want, like, I mean, we still need workers too. Unemployment is not a problem, and places to live. I was driving down Route 400 yesterday afternoon at rush hour, coming from up in Dahlonega and the traffic was bumper to bumper heading north at rush hour on 400. It was just as bad as Peachtree Street in rush hour. So it occurred to me that is going to have an upward pressure on prices, because people aren't going to, people are going to finally say, oh, wow, I'm spending an hour to an hour and a half getting, to and from work. So they might be willing to spend more money to live closer in, and which would be favorable impact on Dunwoody, I would think,
Right.
Prices.
Yeah, the tough part about Dunwoody is we were built in the car-centric economy. All the neighborhoods have either one or two entrances, and they don't connect. So it's difficult to move around here. Sometimes around Christmas time, especially because I work on Ashford Dunwoody and I have to go right by the mall. It takes me 45 minutes to go 1.5 miles to get onto the highway sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty frightening. Well, you worked over at Avalon. You were involved in development of that, redesign. And you worked in Woodstock in development and redesign. And both of those cities have extensive walking trails that are extremely popular. What is planned for Dunwoody in that respect?
So we just hired the Path Foundation to come in and take our trail plan and kind of move it forward. Take a look at it. We've had some public meetings. We want their input on it. So that's where we are. It's going to be a project that'll be complete probably in May. And one of the council members here is wanting to float a bond, park bond, and a trail bond. So we're going to use that as the basis for it.
Do you visualize any kind of trail between Perimeter Mall and Dunwoody Village or not? Is that something that you're
Yes,
on
we
the
actually
drawing
already have
boards?
a trail that already goes, starts at Hammond Drive, goes up and connects to Mount Vernon. So it's a multi-phase trail, but there's very limited right of way, especially by the mall. We're trying to work out the right of way with them, but it's going to be probably a 12-foot trail. So,
And how many miles is that all over there from Dunwoody? I know I belong to the Concourse Athletic Club still. I go over there a couple
yeah,
times a week. How far is that? How many miles over there
it's
is
probably
that?
less than 2 miles.
A couple miles is all? I thought it
Yeah,
was farther than that. That's
yeah,
interesting. Well, that'll be
but that
nice if you can go from Hammond Drive, right where the King and Queen are, to Dunwoody Village.
yeah. Eventually, we want to make that connection happen.
Well, that'd be a nice biking. That would actually be a nice biking. Even walk 2 miles is not bad.
Yeah, right by the State Farm structure, they implemented their trails, and by the 1224 building, we implemented the trails there as well.
Good. Well, that'd be very interesting when that comes about. One of the things too that's very critical would be the schools. You know, people wherever there are good schools, you find incomes rise among residents. How would you characterize the schools and talk a little bit about what the public education there? I know you have private schools too, but what about public education?
So I'm familiar with the Dunwoody schools. I went to Roswell, which is right next door. Roswell High School played Dunwoody in football and other sports. Roswell was fortunate enough to have closed the old Roswell High School, and they had land to build a new high school. They don't have that option here. So I think they're very tight on space. That's one reason I think the mayor and council are hesitant to approve new residential developments. So,
The quality of the education, though, you have really good. My kids graduated from there and
yeah,
have got a really good public education.
they do. I mean, it's one of the finest in the state. The people around here are just brim with success.
You have you have how many high schools? You have Dunwoody High School. What's the other? You have two high schools, right?
That's it.
Just one high school.
Yep.
Now, you'd had two at one time, didn't you? Over by Shamley Dunwoody, or was that a junior high?
Yeah, that was an elementary school.
That was the elementary. Okay.
And the school system has talked to us about building another school on that site on Shamley Dunwoody.
Oh, okay.
They have not started yet, but they're.
Is that a bigger footprint than Dunwoody, than Dunwoody High School, or what?
No, it's not. Yeah, it's. I think it's about 9 acres.
Okay. So Dunwoody High School is how many acres is that? Would that be roughly? Is that about
Like
15 or something?
Yeah, probably 15 or 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's right there next to Vanderland, so that
Mm-hmm.
the line between them is
Right.
blurred.
Know it very well.
So.
But well, it's been nice to get to have you on the show, Richard, and talk a little bit about your great city. I know I love it there, and with all the development going on, I know it's poised for continued price increases in residential living. So,
Yeah,
if you want to
yeah.
get in now, the prices I think will continue to rise at probably around 5 to 7% a year. I would bet,
Yeah.
which is less than the growth in the last couple of years. Or the last couple of years, the prices have gone up probably about 25%. Or
Yeah, I remember when you interviewed Jeff Moon, the city manager of Woodstock,
Yeah.
and that's where I live, and our house has gone up more than 100%.
How long ago was that?
I bought my house 6 years ago, and I haven't done anything to it. It just escalated so
Doubled
much.
in 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's probably happened to Dunwoody too. I bet, it's probably gone up
Yeah.
and same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have really beautiful cities there that you've worked in, and between Woodstock and Alpharetta and now Dunwoody. You've had the privilege of working with some really dynamic communities. And
Yeah, it's been really a joy to work here. So,
yeah, and can thank you for your contributions to the well-being of those cities.
sure.
Well, thank you for watching, everybody, and thank you, Richard, for sharing your thoughts on your great city. And again, the show will be sent out to all the realtors, and will be on the my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. And if I can help you with any of your real estate needs, it's Lou Wieland at KW.com. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.